Hey, welcome back everybody to another episode of the Harry Singer Foundation's Empowering Women show. And I get excited about every episode, but you can see it in my face. I'm excited about this one because let me go straight into introducing who this person is, because I want you to hear from her as quickly as possible. So I want to introduce you to Anita Goyal MBE. Now, Anita, I'm giving you like the official roles and achievements, but I've known this soul and I know exactly what she does, but let me give you the official stuff before we get into it. She is an award-winning philanthropist, community champion, and author. But here is, I just want you to start capturing a flavor of what this amazing, empowering woman has been doing. And I mean just the flavor, because it's about only so many I can fit on this slide. But here we go. She is the CEO and trustee of an amazing foundation called Hemraj Goyal Foundation. Make a note, check them out, you'll find out what it's all about. But she's the CEO and trustee of the Hemraj Goyal Foundation, as well as the Hallmark Care Homes Foundation. Now, that just doesn't stop there. She is also the vice president of Barnardo's. For those of you that are not from the UK, this is one of the leading charities been going on forever and ever in the UK. Check them out as well. On top of that, she is the patron of Binti International. Now, Binti International is an amazing organisation for women, and it's all about menstrual dignity. And we may even be talking about that in a second. On top of that, she is the ambassador for the Alzheimer's Society, and she is the author of these two amazing books, Voices from Punjab and Voices from Gujarat. I'm going to make sure that Anita speaks a little bit about that in a second. And she, back in some past life, I remember her as a science teacher, but then also as an assistant head teacher. And the reason I want to bring that about is because right now I know that Anita is championing and pioneering personal development workshop in schools across the whole of the UK. And I want to bring in, just recently, she's been awarded and honoured by Her Majesty with an MBE for services to diversity and female empowerment. And in a nutshell, what I wanted to add in the end is Anita is so passionate about making a difference and doing everything with passion and purpose. So without further ado, let's bring on our guest today, Anita. Anita's there. She's right there. Thank you, Anita, for joining us.
Hi, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, Harry, that you just gave. I'm really excited about your new show, Empowering Women. It's fantastic. Well done.
Yeah, it's about people like you, right? So, and this is like, that's like a snapshot of what you've achieved. And what we're going to do is what we do every episode. I want you to, it's great hearing about all the things that you've done, but I always want people to hear a bit about the journey, what's got you there. So if you could go straight into that, for the viewers and the people that are listening, give them a little flavour of who was Anita Goyal before you started achieving all these amazing things. So give us a little flavour of your journey, please do.
Thanks, Harry. So I think from about the age of 8 years old, I always wanted to be a teacher. I was the eldest of all my siblings and cousins, and I'd sit them on the floor and I'd get the books out and I would ensure that they were listening to me, and I'd read stories to them. And I think from there, as I grew up, I had opportunities to do lots of different things. But I worked in this one school as a volunteer to teach science to some primary school children, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with working with young children, especially those that were from areas where they perhaps didn't have access to as many opportunities. Anyway, from there, I became a science teacher. I did that for 20 years. And around about 8 years ago, I met my husband, Avnish. And it was from then that I decided that I needed to explore a different path for my life and perhaps look at doing something entirely new. What I found with teaching was that I wasn't making a difference to a large number of people, young people, even though I was supporting and helping transform lives of children with special educational needs and young people who may have had challenges in their life in other areas. But I just took the risk and decided to run the Family Foundation, which is, as you mentioned earlier, the Hemraj Goyal Foundation, which Avnish, my husband, started 10 years ago. And that was really about, giving to charities and NGOs across the world, especially in India. And also our work has been expanding here in the UK. As you mentioned, working with Bernardo's, an amazing charity. And since then, I've just been able to make a difference to even more women and children with disabilities, children from disadvantaged backgrounds. And more recently, I've had the opportunity to introduce some of the personal development stuff that I was also exposed to. In fact, Harry, that's when you and I met at Yes Group, in Yes Group Essex, where I remember when you came into the school that I was teaching at in Bower Park Academy, which is in Romford, and just to give young people the exposure to this kind of thinking and getting them on a pathway. And sharing that with school children, I think, has come full circle for me, because I've just designed the Enrichment Experience for Education program. So I kind of have always been interested in people, especially young people. I love teenagers. That is my favorite age group. I can't wait for this pandemic or lockdown to be over, schools reopening, where I can get back in and do the personal development stuff. So that's really been my journey over the last few years.
Beautiful. And I always, when I hear people's journeys, I want the viewers to always pick up that you'll see the thread that runs through. And this is why when I get excited about people coming on who are labelled as empowering women, and what makes it even more amazing is that you're authentically consistent, because you've had that passion all the way through. And you're still that 8-year-old science teacher who wants to see how things work and then help people. And but let's talk about some of the stuff you do. I mean, we'll want to touch on a bit about the books, because there's so many amazing women that you brought into that book. Also, organisations like Binti, what they're about, and then maybe we could get on to you just sharing one of your amazing experiences that you've had on the journey, right? So maybe let's just start with the books. Let's talk about Voices of Punjab, Voices of Gujarat.
Thank you, Harry. So I had the idea that I would love to write a book, and I wanted to always celebrate my own mother and my mother-in-law for all of the hardships. We always hear about the immigrant story coming from India. Punjab is where my parents are from. All of our families are from Punjab. And I used to be really fascinated by hearing my mum's story about coming to this country at the age of 18, 19, being married so young, when she ultimately should have been at university. And then I was born when she was only 19. And all of the learning, the hardships, the gender inequalities, the family dynamics, and the challenges and issues that Punjabi families had at the time coming to the UK in the 70s. And I also saw the same story with my mother-in-law, and I think she probably had even more challenges, because she came here a lot earlier. She had 8 children, and you come to this country with these big dreams, and when you're exposed to the weather and having to work and all the language barriers that you've got, I just thought I could never do what they did. So I was so inspired. I wrote the book in there to honor them, really. And then while I was doing that, I decided to look at what are British Asian Punjabi women doing in this country where they're really making a difference. So I turned to people like Seema Malhotra, she's an MP, and then I looked at Baroness Verma, who's born in Amritsar, Punjab. I looked at Kamal Hoti, Dr. Kamal Hoti, OBE, and I thought, wow, there's even more phenomenal women who had very similar challenges. And I just was super curious about their lives, and I interviewed them, and I cried with them, I laughed with them, and I was able to, really write about their almost not heartbreaking stories, but I was able to celebrate them as women, and also the contribution they've made to our communities and society. And the best way to do that is do it in a book. So Voices from Punjab, I'd say it was a gift to all my grandmothers, all my Punjabi grandmothers, I say I don't have one mother, I have many mothers in my life who've guided me, supported me, and given me the lessons for life that I now use.
Yeah.
So
We can.
a joy to share.
And it's always important that when we're on a show talking empowering women, it's always really important to mention mothers. Just in that sense, for most of us, our heroes are mothers as well, and so on. But yeah, it's like we're doing a show about empowering women. You wrote a book about empowering women, right? They're all amazing empowering women. So Voices of Punjab, make sure people check that out. And then Voices from Gujarat is something that you then came up with after you did that one, right?
Yes. So I always had a plan to write 3 books, and I wanted to do the 3 western states of India. So that's Gujarat, Punjab, and also Rajasthan. So I've just completed my second book, which is Voices from Gujarat. That's now, we're approaching some publishers now with that to see how this can end up on the mainstream bookshops and with a really good publisher. My first book was self-published, but I now feel I have the confidence to go to a big publisher. And that's the other thing. Often women don't have the confidence. They undersell themselves. So I'm now brave enough. I have the courage to say, actually, I need to really explore this. So Voices from Gujarat is more for younger women who are Gujarati, and they have again done some phenomenal things. So, for example, I've got this amazing professional cricketer, Naomi Datani, who plays cricket here in the UK professionally. And it's looking back of the East Africa route, because Punjabis and Gujaratis are different in that there's lots of differences in their values, the community cohesion, the language. So I thought they'd be very similar, but they're uniquely different. I've got people like Nisha Palmer, who has a following of almost 60,000 people on Instagram, semi-finalists of MasterChef 2018, who is like absolutely amazing. So I've got lots of young women who are contributing to their Gujarati community in the second book. So look out for that coming out very soon.
Brilliant. And what it is when you found your voice, now you're helping other people find their voice. So, thank you for that. So let's move on to something like, you've not only worked with Binti, you've worked with other foundations who tackle trafficking and things like that. But maybe just tell us a little bit about Binti, what it is, what they do, and then we'll get into any one of your magical moments from your experiences. So go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I was asked to be the patron of Binti International a few years back now, and it's a period charity. In fact, it's the UK's first period charity. And Manjit Gill, the CEO, has this incredible vision to ensure that we have all women, all girls, all people who are menstruating have access to menstrual products, have menstrual education, and also the third factor is about smashing the shame and stigma around periods. So I have been on this great journey with her. In fact, was it 2019 to celebrate Binti's 5 years? We went to India and we went on this trip where we had a car which we hired, and we stuck pads all over it. Yeah. And we went around 13 different schools, 8 cities in India, from Rajasthan, from Udaipur to Jaipur to Punjab, Chandigarh, Delhi, and we were able to work with young people from all different kinds of backgrounds, especially girls, and deliver some fantastic education around periods, especially around the taboos and the myths that there are around what communities believe that, for example, you shouldn't go to the temple if you're on your period. Harry, I don't know if you've heard of that before, but especially in the Hindu community, it's quite prevalent, and that you're dirty and that your blood is dirty, and things like, you mustn't touch pickle, or you mustn't go into the kitchen. You're banned from the kitchen while you're on your period. All sorts of things. So we were there, handling and being confronted by some of these myths and ideas that the teachers even had. And the teachers were, it was kind of like, it gave you an insight into how much disconnect there is with actual education and the myths and the taboos and the stigma that there is. And the film Padman really did start to open up the conversation around that. And if you haven't seen that film, it's phenomenal. You must watch that. The story around how the pads and the menstrual products were starting to be made by this one man's idea, and going into villages where women were able to have the machine and make the menstrual products and sell them in their own villages, so that women are using products that are safe and it's healthy for them to use those, rather than using a dirty rag when they're menstruating. So I had huge amounts of insight into that, and it was just an incredible journey. In fact, we're launching a documentary very soon about that particular trip, and also tracing back to some of our roots in Moga, Punjab, where Avnish and I are both from. And so menstruation is a big thing. But also here in the UK, there's lots of work being done around schools, with the tampon tax, and schools now having menstrual products available to all young people in full-time education, and loads of campaigns that are going on. So if you ever get an opportunity to join a period campaign, you must follow it. It's phenomenal.
It's amazing. Just the fact that we're able to talk about a period campaign is just amazing. And thank you for sharing. And I'm going to make sure I get Mandy on the show as well, and she talk more about what she does and things like that. I'll do that. So now give us for someone like you, we're both service leaders. I've known Avnish for over 20 years, and I know the growth that you guys have had, and we all know that every time we serve, every time we contribute, we come back with more, because it fills our souls with, that element of making a difference. But there are probably millions of experiences you had. If I could, just put you in a corner and go, if there's one that just pops to your mind, any experience that you've had along your journey of, making a difference, helping out women, what would one of them be?
I think the one that really stands out for me is when I went to India, to Pune, with the Shri Blair Foundation on a very, very unique delegation. And Avnish and I had an opportunity to meet some of the beneficiaries for some of the funding that we had done through the Hemorrhage Goal Foundation. And there was one woman in the village, and they put on this huge, welcoming party to receive us with Shri Blair and some very unique philanthropists. And we got to this tiny village, and it was like the whole village had come out to greet us. And there was this one particular woman who took part in some of the mentorship programs that Shri Blair Foundation supported her with. And she was so special, because she was like a village woman. And when she started to share her story about all the things that she's done for the village, and how she's now an icon for the village, it was great, because her husband lost his job. He was a farmer, so he's unable to work. When the crops fail, sometimes the farmers are in a really bad way. In fact, some farmers are suicidal when that can happen. So she knew she had to step up and become the breadwinner of the family. So through the mentorship program, she was able to use her skills to set up a small business of running a shop where she was selling sweets and some basic food and produce, and a bit like a pound shop where you get everything.
Yeah,
and
I know her.
And then she saved up money and got her children involved in business, and actually got her husband involved in the business too. Wow. And she used to make noodles, fresh noodles from this machine that she had. And she also started to buy cows with the money that she'd saved. So she was providing milk for the village as well. And she started with one cow, built her business up to 4 cows. And what was amazing about this woman is that she not only had her milking business, she also had a sari business where she was selling saris. And another small shop. So she'd employed local women to come and work in her sari shop. And she was able to get all of her children into the schools in the local sort of city, because that's where the education was much. She had a great vision for her children to go to some of the bigger schools. And this woman, what was really amazing about her was she stood there with half of her arm was covered with her sari. And I was kind of curious to know, why was she doing that? Because normally you don't cover your arms. It was a very, very hot day. And the story unfolded that she did all of this with her cows, milking her cows 4 o'clock in the morning. She said she would finish up dinner by 10 o'clock in the evening and clear up, go to bed, up again at 4 o'clock, milking the cows, getting the milk ready, and then going on to opening her shop. And she did all of this with one arm. Her other arm, she had lost part of her hand because in the noodle making machine that she had in her shop, her hand got mangled and caught up in that. And that was it for me. And I was really touched by that story, that this woman was doing all of this. And I complain about getting up 7 o'clock in the morning. She was doing all of that with one hand.
Wow.
So that story I will never forget her story. In fact, I shared her story at the House of Lords on International Women's Day a few years back, because that really did touch me.
Wow, thank you for sharing. Because that's what it's about. It doesn't matter how grand we are or all those other bits and pieces. When you share a story of like the human spirit in that way, it's what it's about. But all right, brilliant. You and I could talk forever. I want to get to the point where now it's what message does Anita Goyal have for the women and the men and the young people, whoever are listening and watching in? What is your message for women or people who love to serve women? Whatever you want to share, go ahead. It's your space to maybe give them a gift of your wisdom.
Thank you, Harry. So, the first thing I'd like to share is that explore what you really want in your life and really discover why you want it. And, you can do this through goal setting, through creating a vision board, and then just go out and do it. Construct your life, design your life to go out and live your best life that you really, really want to live. The other message I'd like to share is enrich your life with new learning and new experiences. And you will see so many amazing opportunities will start to come before you, and take those opportunities so that you can live a really enriched life. And finally, encourage yourself and others to give back to communities, to do some charity work. Either it's through giving your time, your energy, to help make a difference to so many other people in the communities that right now need this help. And do all of this authentically, with integrity, and keep moving forward in your life. Try not to look back too much.
Yeah. And I know those words are really important because I know you live by those, right? So, and there you go, guys. Those are the words of wisdom from Anita Goyal MBE. And Anita, how can people, if they can keep up with you, how can they follow your journey? And because for those of you that are watching and listening, if you're like thinking, who could I help? How could I help? Sometimes it's just great to watch and see what someone else is doing. And then Anita's one of those people that can inspire you. So Anita, how can people follow you? How they can follow the journey?
Sure. Well, firstly, our website is the Hemorrhage Gold Foundation. You can find out more, all of the work that we're doing in terms of our philanthropy. People can follow me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, Facebook, and I'm now on Clubhouse, and I'm just really enjoying everything that's going on there as well. So follow me on Clubhouse too.
Brilliant. We'll make sure we put those links up on the YouTube as well for you. So
Sure.
Anita, thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for taking the time out of your amazing schedule to share with us on this show. So thank you so much, Anita. Keep doing the work, and we'll have you back again on another episode because it's going to take a few episodes to get everything in. But thank you so much for your time. Right?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure. Right. For the rest of you, what I want to do now is I want to say thank you to you for joining us. And like we always end, please make sure you comment, subscribe, like. If you've got any messages for Anita, put that in. Because if you're subscribing, it means you also get to see our Empowering You show as well as Empowering Women show. And I look forward to seeing you on another episode. But in the meantime, follow us on Instagram, Facebook. There's our website if you want to donate to our Youth Leadership Summits or our Women's Empowerment Programs. But whatever you do, keep serving. And whatever you can do, if you are a person out there that's serving and empowering women, we're here to support you.